Just go where the wind will blow me, yeah. Well, I'm on my way, 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 I'm on my way.
People see our videos and they see our wonderful adventures and walks and the amazing places we anchor and we swim and do all these different things, and it may give an appearance that it's one big adventure and holiday, but we've been doing this for over 6 or 8 months now. 9 months, and we can tell you that actually, while it's an amazing adventure, life isn't that simple, and compared with life on land in our normal old life, it's very much more difficult. Every aspect of our living now has changed, and that's from taking Lucy for a walk to getting groceries.
I think we are living a different lifestyle now, so it's not just a big holiday, it's the fact that we have changed our lifestyle from living on land to living on sea. And I personally actually find that while some things have become more difficult, others have become more easy. So if I personally compare my take on our life on land to the life we are living at sea, I actually find that while some things are more complicated, others are a lot more pleasurable. Schooling is easy. I don't have to rush out of the house. The kids can have breakfast when they wake up. We are not involved in fundraisers and parent evenings. We can mold the schooling to the kids' interests. It's a lot less stressful, so there's not that.
Yeah, I guess in the big scheme of things, that's quite a point and realistic. I'm just sort of talking about the micro handling of things. You know, one thing is like our cooking, for instance. We have, a very limited stove. We need to find, it uses gas, and it uses small gas bottles, and everywhere we go we've got to try and source gas, and just small things that we take for granted.
So mode of transport is a dinghy, obviously, and it's a very simple technology, the little dinghy motor, and it plays up on a regular basis, which causes a lot of frustration because it's our only way of transport to shore. And we have Lucy, obviously, she needs to go 2 to 3 times a day at least to have her toilet business done. And then groceries, of course, we have to go to land, and we have to go to the supermarket, and we have to cart everything from the supermarket back to the dinghy, and from the dinghy to the boat, and from the...
Yeah, I mean, it's like, if you can imagine getting your trolley load of groceries from the trolley into your car, and then into your car into your home, well, it's actually got to go into backpacks for us, walk possibly half a kilometre to the dinghy, into the dinghy, maybe another half-k dinghy ride, and then into the boat and into storage.
And the storage is quite tricky too, because the storage is all tucked away in seats and floorboards. The fridge is really, really tiny, and it's a square down. And
it doesn't have a freezer, so we can't get long-term frozen goods.
And it has condensation, so each time we go shopping I make a point of unpacking the whole fridge and getting all the puddle of water out of the bottom and resorting, making use of every square millimeter in the tiny thing, so we can have reasonably priced food, because we are not always in towns where there's big supermarkets, so we have to kind of really carefully consider what we buy and where we go, and if we have got enough food.
Power's another thing that, I know we all used to grumble about paying the power bill, but it was just a given that we pay the bill and we have power, and you can use as much as you like. And here it's such an everyday management issue, where we are constantly looking at the small amount of amp hours that we have stored on our battery, and we have to make sure that our solar panels for our generation and our use of it is all managed, because it's simply something that we can't ignore. And when the sun doesn't come out, and at the moment the sun is very low because it's winter time, the solar panels aren't working so well, so we have to use a generator, and the generator costs 1 litre of fuel per 2 hours of use, and at the moment we're using the generator about 2 hours a day, so we're using 1 litre of fuel a day to supplement our power. We try and use that wisely. Sometimes we make water, sometimes we use the washing machine, which uses the 240 volt system,
and sometimes we use our new fancy stick blender. We don't have very many electrical toys on board because of the power issue, but we bought a stick blender to be able to make soups in winter, and we can only use it when the generator is going. So everything is carefully planned around when the generator is going and what we might have to use. Also, we have to make sure that we charge our devices while the generator is going, so there's a lot of careful consideration around things that we don't really think about at land life. You just plug in your devices whenever, or they stay plugged in forever.
Yeah, and that was one thing that gave me a big surprise. I obviously had to go from using 3 monitors down to 1 monitor on my laptop from my big media PC at home, and even my laptop, which obviously has the capability of doing pretty high-end graphics, uses a huge amount of power, so much that the battery only lasts 1 hour when I'm actually rendering and editing. So while we're charging the battery, we do have spare amperage in the system to run the laptop. So more often than not, when the generator's running, I'm doing editing on for these very videos that you're watching now. What else we have? Water's another one. I remember sitting in the shower for 4 or 5 minutes in Hastings, New Zealand, and being a little bit guilty about the amount of water we're using. That was using about 20 litres a minute, and that was about 100 litres for one shower. That's on a luxury day, but about 100 litres for one shower. Our tank below here stores 250 litres, so that's 2.5 showers worth of water we store on the fresh water. We actually have a spare one up
But how much does a hot water container?
So yeah, most people have, I don't know, maybe
it's only tiny.
500 litre, 400 litre. Actually, I don't know what a hot water cylinder.
It's only tiny.
No, at home, if you have your hot water cylinder, it might be 100 or 200 or 300 litres of hot water. The one we have here is 20 litres. It's a 20 litre hot water cylinder. We can't run it. Well, we can run it from the generator, but that would be just crazy use of power and resources. It is actually hooked up to our engine, so that when we're motoring, the heat from the engine goes through the hot water cylinder and makes very, very hot water. And that's a luxury. So after a motor, usually there's a bit of a run to have a shower straight after motoring, and it is also we can use it when we're hooked up to shore power, which happens almost never.
So for us, it's not having a shower every day anymore. It's a wash in the sink, and it's amazing how quickly you get used to it. In the beginning, it was a bit of a shock to the system to go from a endless shower experience to something you really have to think about. Like with my long hair, I can really only wash it in the shower, or in summer I've done it out the back of the boat a couple of times, but you really have to soap yourself in, wet yourself first, soap yourself in, and then turn the water back on to rinse yourself off, so you don't just let the water run endlessly. It's really only little bursts of water.
Yeah.
Get wet and rinse off.
In our shower here, I've put in a low flow pump, which is 16 litres per minute. So you know, our shower would consist of getting wet, turning off the shower, soaping up, cleaning yourself, and then rinsing off for another 30 seconds. And yeah, so water's not something we can take for granted. Now, the way we get our water, we either fill up at a jetty, which is pretty rare because we don't know the quality of the water. It could be heavily chlorinated or in fact not potable. So we make our own water, and
Most of the time, sometimes we fill up.
yeah, most of the time, and that is made at about 80 litres per hour, and so, you know, 160 litres for 2 hours running the generator. That's again a really big consideration. So nothing's free on the boat, even though sometimes it comes from the sun, or you know, the water we make is from the sea and it's desalinated in our water maker. Now we have two toilets on the boat, but all of the waste is stored into holding tanks, because here in Turkey it's illegal to dump those tanks out, so we need to be mindful of the level in the holding tanks, and we need to visit pump out places regularly to have the holding tanks pumped out.
The other thing is storage. So there's very little storage on the boat, so it was obviously a really big thing for us to reduce our belongings down from a 3.5 bedroom house plus studio plus office plus double carriage into a little tiny boat. So Tim and I, we have a combined tiniest wardrobe with 3 little cupboards and 1 hanging arrangement, and a few little cupboards above our bed, but that's pretty much it, which is obviously a huge change, and it's fine while we are living this feral life out here, because we really do need very little clothing in summer. It's pretty much just bikinis and sun hats.
Yeah, and actually, speaking of clothes and things, washing is another one that is, you know, back on land, we'd just grab your washing, everything that was in the bundle in your basket, and throw it in the washing machine, turn it on, and go do other things, and not worry about electricity or water. Well, here on the boat it's a very different matter. We actually did buy a washing machine, because simply washing everything by hand, even though we have, you know, limited washing now to be done, it's still got to be done, and
it's 4 people.
It's 4
and
people.
Bed sheets and towels, so it's still quite a bit of washing.
So we use a small, very small.
It's kind of half manual,
half automatic.
so it takes about half a day to do the washing. We have to set up the whole generator thing, then we have to fill up buckets with water, fill up the washing machine, fill up the water. So you have to do 1 wash, how do you say, cycle? 1 wash cycle. Then you have to drain the water, and you have to fill up the buckets again and do a rinse cycle. And then we collect each of these waters to use them again, because water is very precious and it takes a very long time.
So we're actually making water at the same time because the generator's running, so we make water and it actually works out about the same. So we're using it and making it at the same rate, and we keep some of the slightly cleaner water to scrub the decks afterwards. Yeah, so the heating was a bit of a I thought we'd just go be tough Kiwis, because we'd actually had some weekends on our small trailer yacht in New Zealand and thought it was doable, but really, you know, apparently the snow falls down at low levels around the mountains around here, and I expected to get quite cold, and I'm sure just like New Zealand they'll have some periods where it's going to be just horrible, and we'll just have to hunker down and play board games and watch movies in the boat, and the last thing we want to do is be just chilly the whole time. I mean, we need to be comfortable. So I researched, diesel heaters seem to be a very common thing on a boat, and there are 2 brands from Germany which turn out to be about $2,500 New Zealand, and I managed to source one directly from China for about 350 New Zealand dollars, landed here. So that actually arrived this week, and so that you'll probably see us installing in a few weeks' time.
Actually really relaxed, really starting to enjoy the whole experience, and it really makes me realize how frantic we have been, how little time we had together as a family, in how little time I had for myself, my creative pursuits. So it feels to me a real treasure to have this time as a family and together.
Yeah, you found some things to do. I'm still struggling to find things to relax to. I mean, I just seem to find things around the yacht constantly to be repairing and maintaining. I have got into audiobooks, which I've never listened to in my life, so that's quite handy. I can actually listen to them while I'm doing other things, or actually, if I'm really tired, actually put my feet up for a while and listen to a book.
Internet.
Oh yeah, internet. Luca's favourite subject. That's not. We don't have a fibre connection running across the water to our boat, and
Very much to Luca's frustration.
yeah, so we get the internet via a SIM card through a fairly expensive connection through Turkcell, our cell phone. So we have one cell phone that has internet access, so we have to hotspot it and carefully manage, usually unsuccessfully, everyone's use of it. And so that can't, I mean, even the other day I finished 2 YouTube videos, and they're huge files, so had to go into shore, and we found a cafe that did free Wi-Fi, so it's a total of about 2 hours waiting at a cafe to get the video uploaded. So if there's anything that you want to know,
Friends.
so
Communications.
communication, we're we actually have a few various friendly boats, and we're actually leaving Marmaris today to head back towards Felier for our residency interviews, and our friend Pisces is on his way over, I think, so we're going to head off.
And this is our telephone.
This is our telephone. Pisces 3, this is Polycandros.
Welcome, my friend, to the long white cloud. Aotearoa stars burning at you, strong and true.